Hey, good morning. It is morning, right?
It is morning.
I'm here with Kevin Muir, one of the agents on our team. And Kevin, you had a quite a record-breaking recent sale. Over 4 million, which is a record for our team, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yes. And I understand it was also a cash purchase.
It was a cash purchase.
Yes. So tell us about how that happened, how you met these clients, and just kind of the story of it unfolded for us.
Yeah, so really it started out very simply. Our inside sales team does a great job in supporting the agents, and they set up a buyer consult for me to take.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't really have a ton of details on it,
Okay.
but I did end up seeing the first property that they were inquiring about, which was roughly $3 million. So
Okay.
I knew it was pretty serious.
Mm-hmm.
Got on Zoom with them that day, and we ended up talking about, sort of the wish list for what they were looking for, walking them through the process of what real estate sales look like in Virginia.
And they were coming from where?
They were coming from Arizona, so they weren't local.
Yes.
And they had spent some time around the DC area, but had never purchased residential property here.
Okay.
So he had a background in commercial real estate. She went to school at GW. So they were familiar with the area.
Yeah.
They were familiar with real estate kind of, but
Yeah.
just sort of talking through some of the nuance of Virginia residential real estate. And so we had the buyer consult. The husband ended up flying out here later that week.
Okay.
He told me, hey, I'm here for 24 hours, let's see as much as we can. And there wasn't really an expectation of us buying something at that point. They had said, hey, we do want to move we want to move fairly soon, but we want to take our time. And, the wife couldn't make it out that week, so they wanted for her to see the property as well.
Yes.
Totally understandable for a lot of our out-of-town buyers. We want everyone to see the property in person first. Yeah. Ended up seeing about 10 homes ranging from 2.5 million. I think the most expensive one we saw was around 6.
Okay.
And once we saw the one that was 4.25, it was a new build that had been completed. They said, hey, I think this is probably the one that we're gonna want.
Yes.
So I drove my client back to the airport, and actually before I had gotten back to the office, he called me and said, hey, let's start putting this contract together.
Yes.
So we wrote the contract that day, went back and forth a little bit. It was a cash purchase and it was a new build. So those are both a little bit of unique situations, but what made the purchase very unique was they wanted some specific tests done for environmental sort of issues.
Right.
And it wasn't tests that really, were familiar to me, were familiar to some of the people on our team. So I reached out to a lot of our partners and talked to several different mold experts that we had dealt with. Eventually ended up finding someone who could do these specific tests.
Yeah.
That did turn into a process of doing several different tests.
Yeah.
So the deadlines did get extended quite a bit.
Yeah, because I think what I recall just hearing a little bit about it is that one of the purchases had a lot of sensitivity, so they really needed the house to be safe, like maybe even beyond what we normally see.
Yeah, and you run into things like that with certain clients. I mean, it's about tailoring the experience to what the clients are looking for. So, when she had told me, hey, I am a little bit sensitive to this, but also I have several different degrees in environmental studies sort of things, she was very knowledgeable and sensitive. So she wanted these tests done exactly the way she wanted, and we were able to accommodate that.
It's not something that, like you said, we normally see in our business. You can have a mold test, but to the level and the degree, maybe a little intimidating, right? I mean, you're 3 in the business, sold a bunch of homes, but still not something that we run into all of the time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've done mold tests before. People on our team have done mold tests before, but a lot of times they're a fairly generic sort of air test, whereas this one was more about collecting dust and collecting settled samples, which was a bit of a challenge in a new build. So, when you get into a situation like that, really, it's about relying on the resources that we have. So, I mean, the leadership within the team gave me a lot of great guidance on that, as well as some of our partners in testing and inspection. And some referrals from other agents on the team of, hey, maybe reach out to this person.
Yeah.
Because, if you don't know about something, you need to lean on the people that you surround yourself with.
In hearing you kind of lay this out, I go back to the beginning when you first sat with them. You know, it wasn't just, hey, let's go look at houses. You actually sat down and walked through the process of what the market is in this area, even though the one party had commercial real estate experience, which can be vast and extensive compared to residential.
Yeah.
But that you actually sat down and what we call a consult, right? And how often are you doing that? What does that look like for each buyer?
A lot of so there's different types of consults that you're going to do, right? Sometimes if you've been going out with somebody a couple times and you feel like the parameters of their search haven't been exactly defined, that's one certain type of consult.
Yes.
A consult initially before you're even showing homes is a little bit different and a little bit hard to prepare for, because you don't have all the information there to tailor that consult to what the buyers are looking for. And generally when we're doing consults, we like to talk about, what the market's doing in this area. For this particular one, the market above 2 million is vastly different than the market for condos, for the market for single family homes in the 700 to $1 million range. So
because our average price point in like this middle part of Northern Virginia tends to be around 750,000. So that is well above the norm.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's some extra nuance there with, they had inquired initially about a new build. So explain to them what that new build process looks like versus the resale process, because they're two completely different things.
Yes.
And then, also when you're showing in that price range, a lot more parties get involved very quickly. So contacting with the builders, with the listing agents, if there is one, getting the full scope of everything about the house, and doing that for all 10 of the houses that we were showing was quite the task, but I was able to get it done in 2 days. And, we spent our 6-7 hours looking at these homes, and, they ended up finding one that they really loved. And then on top of that, we try to go from a full service perspective, right? So throughout the process of being under contract, it was linking them up with these contractors that we had good relationships with to, we got a fence put in before closing, actually.
Nice.
We have them already with plans to put a pool on the property. We have a furniture connection that they can have. We have somebody who actually installed automatic blinds because they're sensitive to light. Yeah. So we were able to get those installed the same day as closing, but afterwards. Wow. So just connecting them with the other contractors we have great relationships with. When you surround yourself with great people, you can tailor that experience for your clients.
Concierge level service.
Absolutely.
I love it. Second part of this conversation with Kevin. So Kevin, one of the agents on our team, you sold the big house, over 4 million. Service any different if somebody's buying a $300,000 condo? What does that look like?
Ideally, no. Certain clients demand a certain level of service.
Yes.
Whereas there's certain clients who come to us and say, hey, just get this house for us, schedule the inspection. Like some transactions can be very much more, hey, here are the steps, you lay them out initially, and nothing really comes up along the way. This one was more involved, but we don't want that level of, we want even clients who are looking at lower price point homes to have the opportunity to have that level of service.
Yes.
Yeah, so
well, and sometimes if they're brand new home purchaser, a lot of what we call hand-holding through that process too, because don't care what the price point is, it is gonna be their home.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, so in terms of level of service, we try to provide that for everyone. But sometimes you need a little bit extra.
Yes, I agree, I agree. So I think tailoring it to what the client's needs are, putting the knowledge behind it, putting the team resources behind it, and having that support too. Also be open-minded to reach out to other sources if more is needed, like you have on the big purchase, even with the smaller ones.
Absolutely.
Good. Yeah. Well, thank you, Kevin, for spending a few minutes with us, and congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm happy that everything went smoothly and it's all closed now.
That's good. All right. Hey, thank you.